A story of fraud, questionable due diligence, and the underselling of St. Kitts and Nevis passports to Chinese nationals is now the basis for a racketeering lawsuit filed in the United States. The RICO lawsuit in the U.S. federal court is against defendants Les Khan, who is the CEO of Caribbean Galaxy, developers of Galaxy Prison Project in St. Kitts, Mr. Claude Emmanuel, the CEO of the St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment Program, the CIP, Ms. Ying Jin, Dr. Denzel Douglas, the Foreign Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and former Prime Minister of that country, as well as former St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, and others. A claim for judicial review has also been filed in the High Court in St. Kitts, seeking an order of mandamus requiring the Prime Minister, in his capacity as Minister of National Security, to revoke all citizenships granted to applicants under the Galaxy Jail who paid less than the legal price. Felipe Martinez and MSR Media have also filed a RICO lawsuit against the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, Tampa Division. The plaintiffs allege that the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank participated in a scheme manipulating the U.S. banking system. According to the lawsuit, the National Bank processed transactions as the primary citizenship by investment bank in St. Kitts and Nevis. Bank personnel were allegedly aware of illegal discounting and underselling, processing CBI shares in their personal capacities while acting as representatives of the bank. MSR has issued a statement in which it states that recent information obtained clearly demonstrates that the Chinese company commissioned by Caribbean Galaxy, the developers of the Galaxy Prison Project, with the sanction of the Timothy Harris administration to carry out the due diligence of applicants under the prison project, paid a percentage of the fees it received back to Ying Jin of Caribbean Galaxy. MSR has raised concerns about the number of Chinese with passports obtained through the St. Kitts Citizenship by Investment Program who are involved in alleged fraud cases. The CBI outfit says less than 4 months ago it was reported in England that a Chinese citizen with a St. Kitts and Nevis passport was involved in the laundering of $1.3 billion in cryptocurrency. The most recent case took place this month involving an arrest of a Chinese national in the United States for money laundering of $73 million US. Attorney at law in St. Kitts and Nevis, Dwyer Astaphan, joins me now on The Narrative to discuss this matter. He says he believes that these Chinese bad actors are operating with the blessing of the government of the People's Republic of China, and it is part of their global expansion strategy. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
So we're looking at the situation here. Could we start with what are the breaches that the chief benefactor that has been appointed and MSR, what are the breaches that they are alleging here?
They're basically saying that citizenships were granted at prices below the legal minimums, depriving the government of its rightful revenue, depriving the people of the country of the benefits from the investments had the rightful amount of money being spent, depriving the plaintiff itself of an opportunity because, from my understanding, the plaintiff was granted a package under the citizenship program at prices higher than what this particular prison project had received. And they're also saying that there's a Chinese company that was engaged by the developer, Galaxy. Let me explain very quickly. For this particular project, the applications were not made to the government. They were made to the developer. And the developer got the government of the day, the previous government.
The Timothy Harris administration.
Right. Got the previous administration to agree that a Chinese due diligence company would be engaged. So some of the narrative in the claim refers to alleged activities between the developer and the Chinese due diligence company that were not in the best interest of the CBI and the country. So basically, the claim is that the claimant has lost as a result because they were not able to market their product, not willing to undersell as others might have been. They were not willing to market their product. The country suffered, the claimant suffered. The same for St. Lucia. And so they brought this action in the United States. Also, they are claiming that this was an enterprise made up of a number of people, not just the developer, but others who were involved in fraud and other less than acceptable activities. And this is why they brought the action under the United States RICO law, and they brought it in Tampa, in Florida.
So they're claiming here criminal enterprise.
But it's a civil suit, eh?
Oh, it's a civil suit.
It's a civil suit.
And so the Timothy Harris is named, the former Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis is named in the action as well. How can this possibly affect the St. Kitts Nevis economy? What are the wider implications here?
Well, the St. Kitts Nevis National Bank is also named, as is an entity that was involved in doing escrow for some of these transactions. So there are a number of defendants named. The main concern for me would be the impact on the bank, but I believe that will be sorted out, with the bank being really the cornerstone of our financial system in the country and the economy. But it is going to create some pain in our country. But my hope and even my expectation is that this pain will be a kind of purgatory which will carry us further into a better place. A pain which maybe has been inevitable given the complaints that have been taking place from people like myself going back to 2006 when I was in the cabinet. And nobody has been listening. So now we have an aggrieved developer who has brought this action outside in the United States, a civil RICO action. And who knows if the United States government, the appropriate relevant authorities, are not considering actions on the criminal side. I don't know.
And MSR, they have written to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, current Prime Minister Terence Drew, asking him to hire a reputable due diligence firm to review the due diligence that was done by Caribbean Galaxy. There seems to be some question there of kickbacks involving Caribbean Galaxy.
Yeah, that's what when I referred to the arrangement between the Chinese due diligence and the developer. I think that's the same thing. For me, I just couldn't wrap my head around it, that the applications would be made to the Chinese developer. The money would be paid to the Chinese developer. And other arrangements, under our law, the arrangements prior to December 2022, when the present administration went into Parliament and tightened the screws on the process, they were too slack. And when they are too slack, they are going to be abused. And you have to presume that that will happen. And you have to wonder why sensible people in responsible positions in the country will allow a slack arrangement to exist and the risks that come with it.
Because certainly what we're looking at here is that the St. Kitts Nevis government really did not have any hand in vetting who these people are who ended up with citizenship of the country. That's what happened.
Absolutely. As I said, the applications were made to the Chinese developer. The payments were made to the Chinese developer. The escrow arrangements were not as tight as they ought to have been. Well, right now, within the last 2 months, Ms. Farrier, we've had 3 Chinese citizens with St. Kitts Nevis passports indicted in the United States for white collar crime. So the
I think
question is,
there's one involving a 75 million US dollar money laundering case.
absolutely. So that does more damage to the country than the lawsuit. In fact, the lawsuit will be like a medicine for the country, in my opinion, which will cause some pain, but as I said, carry us to a better place. You see, the bottom line for me is there has been too much slackness in the running of these countries in the Caribbean across the board, whether it is CBI or manufacturing or tourism or whatever, held too much slackness. And that has to stop. If we are to survive and thrive, all of that has to stop. And for me, this is a kind of blessing in disguise and a message to people. I don't know what the outcome of it will be in the court, but the message has to be that this nonsense has to stop. Whatever the nonsense is, it has to stop.
Now, the prison project, is that moving forward though? Is it, have the
Now,
monies that were collected, are they being
well,
spent
the
and
money,
used? Is the prison being built?
well, here you have a problem again. The Chinese developer were allocated 5,500 units, which were supposed to be marketed at $175,000 each, US. Some people in the business say that that is a guideline, but you have to sell what the market can bear. And again, these islands in the Caribbean undercutting each other, seeing who's going to be first in the race to the bottom, have to take blame for that. Because if we have a platinum product, which we do, why have we been undercutting each other? Why have we been selling our Rolls Royce as if it is a donkey cart, which is what we have been doing? Grenada is saying, St. Lucia is saying they are waiting for something. What they're doing is trying to cash in as much as they can until the door is closed on us. But rather than that approach, we should use the approach that maybe we can keep the gate open and do it right. I've advocated for years. The European Union is, let me use a loose word, a partner in this process. Why are they a partner? Visa-free access to the European Union gives greater value to our economic citizenship program. Does it not? Without the visa-free access to Europe, we might not be able to do as much business as we could do. Why not work out an arrangement? It does not compromise your sovereignty. Work out an arrangement with the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States, and whoever else to appoint due diligence agencies that are satisfactory to them and share the due diligence. And if anybody passes through the cracks, then it is not the fault of Grenada or St. Kitts. It's the fault of a system which includes the European Union. So they can't point a finger at anybody. And that would raise the standard for the process, and that would put us in better stead. But people have not. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, I think, has initiated a move in that direction, where at least those other partners will approve the due diligence agencies who are appointed. I mean, this is not rocket science. We have not been doing it right. And this is why we are where we are at.
How does this development with St. Kitts and Nevis and the RICO case impact the relations between the European Union and the CBI nations of the Caribbean? Because
Well, it depends
we
on,
were already on shaky ground because of questions about how secure our programs are.
it depends on how the governments react, and not just the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. But I believe, again, our Prime Minister in St. Kitts and Nevis has been trying, along with his team, to put this in a better place than where it was before. He has tried regionally and with some degree of success. The only holdout has been St. Lucia, and they have given an explanation for their holding out, if you will. I am not particularly impressed with the explanation, and I'd rather not go into it, really. Um, but I believe there's hope. The European Union will look at this thing very, very carefully and very closely. But I do believe that this is a difficult period which can be navigated and which will lead us to a better place in the end. But in the meantime, with these Chinese people, and I don't mean to generalize, with these Chinese bad actors getting our passports and getting into problems with the United States and England and so forth, it is going to make it more difficult for the rest of us to get visas. It is going to be a lodestone around our necks. So it has to be fixed. And if the governments are not fixing it or are not going fast enough, then it may be a blessing, as I suggested earlier, for some private entity to initiate an action in the court in the United States and in St. Kitts, because MSR is asking for a court order that all of the prison applications which were transacted below the threshold be revoked. All of the citizenships granted through faulty applications be revoked. And
And
to me, it's all good.
do you believe that the St. Kitts Nevis government is prepared to go that far? Because monies have been paid, the project is the project even happening? Has it started yet? Is the
The
money being
project is on
used?
standstill. But I'm glad you raised that. The point I was trying to raise earlier, 5,500 applications, Callistra, supposedly at 175,000, but being marketed at half of that. So even 5,500 at 50,000 US dollars each, that's nearly $300 million for a prison that costs less than 50 million. That's robbery of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, I don't mind a private developer doing a public good project and making a profit. But if the cost of the project is 50 million and he ends up making $250 million profit, in my view, that is profiteering and pirating. And the people of the country don't deserve that. And any leaders that countenance that, or worse, are part of that, need to be rejected.
Are you aware of how many of those 5,500 units, that's 5,500 passports or citizenship, were actually sold?
Well,
Was
I
it
am
fully
not
subscribed? Do you know if it was fully subscribed?
just about, I am told, but I'm not told that officially. The judicial review application, I'm sure, will reveal that information. And this is important also from the perspective of the public of St. Kitts and Nevis and the public of the OECS particularly, get information which we should be getting all the time as a matter of course. You cannot run countries like you're playing poker. It's the people's business, it's the people's property. You can't hold your cards to your chest. They're not your cards. We give you the cards to play.
And do you get the sense, as you look into this matter, that government officials might have been aware that all was not right with the way that Caribbean Galaxy, the Chinese developers were handling this matter? Was there any sort of benefit to government officials in this whole deal?
Well, you are an extremely astute journalist and interviewer. And you know, I have to be careful with the answer to that question.
I know.
But let time reveal the answer. Let time reveal the answer. At best, this nonsense could not have taken place unless major decision makers in the country were at least dumb. That's all I will say on that for now. Everybody knew of the underselling. Agents were advertising discounts. In fact, there was a company, the company that in fact has done the Six Senses in Grenada in your country. The Six Senses was to have been built here. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I believe I did. I
And
believe I did. I did pick up something
yes,
like that, but
it
it's a
was to
while
be
ago.
built here. And the developers said, we cannot market to high-end people in a discounted market. This is a five and dime kind of thing. We are operating at a higher level. And it was suggested to them, go with the flow. They said, we're going to go with the flow. We're going to sell the 40 acres in St. Kitts and we're going to Grenada. So in time, you'll find out um, a lot of things. You're going to be very busy in the next 6 to 18 months. God spare your life.
Do you get the sense though that Chinese actors might be a threat to the region's citizenship by investment program? It's not the first time that we've had Chinese nationals at the center of questionable dealings related to CBI.
I don't have the slightest doubt of that. And what makes me particularly concerned is that a lot of these activities are done at the behest of the Chinese government. It's part of the Chinese global business model to build out, and I can't blame them. That's how superpowers operate. None of them are darlings. None of them are in love with us. They pursue their interests, and they do so ruthlessly. But I believe this is part of the Chinese, if you will, global business model. And don't forget, if we have these people, they get passports, and they are less than savory characters, and can buy a passport. I hate to use the term because it cheapens the whole patrimony and sanctity of a passport. If one of them can buy a passport, can afford a passport for $100,000, that really should be going at $200,000. You're aware that with their passport, they could come to St. George's or to Guave or to Bastia or to St. John's Antigua or to any and all of the above, because my citizens can come to your country and do business and open a little shop and displace the local mom and pop. And next thing you know, one of them is prime minister.
It is something, I'm glad you raised that. It is something that I've wondered about and discussed with colleagues in the media, that can we see a situation where if there isn't a cap on the number of passports that we can sell, and I know people don't like to use the phrase, but that's what we're doing, we're selling passports. They're not looking to buy anything else except a passport. Some of them have not even set foot in our islands. Can sufficient of them meeting the constitutional requirements to vote in elections overturn our natural political situation and environment? I mean, the Chinese, for instance, they're 1.4 billion people in the world. Grenada, for example, we're 100,000, 110,000 citizens soaking wet. Can they end up outnumbering us and taking control of our political direction? Is this, is this worry unnecessary worry, or is this even possible?
It's not an unnecessary worry. It's very realistic. But bear in mind, Callistra, they don't even have to outnumber us. They don't even have to run for political office. They don't even have to vote. If they have money, they can control those who are in charge. Unless we have a squeaky clean system of transparency. But they can create a lot of cultural dislocation, a lot of economic dislocation. They can create a lot of unease and anger and rage. We are very tiny countries. We have to be very careful because we always live on a knife edge. We're in an earthquake zone, a volcano zone, a hurricane zone. We are small island states in a heating up planet. I mean, you name the handicap, we have it. Of course, we also have our blessings, but we have to navigate efficiently, visionarily, altruistically, and transparently and firmly. And our chances of success are improved only if we operate in concert as a region. And this comes down to the politics again. You know, am I going to be the king of a little pond, or am I going to be a citizen of a larger, more meaningful operation? So it's not just Chinese, and there is a question as whether they can vote or not. My suggestion is, because I support the citizenship by investment concept, but I also support controls, and I also support limiting the rights of those persons. I don't necessarily buy the argument that once you have a passport, you have the same rights as a native born Grenadian or St. Lucian. I don't buy that. We are selling a product. If you want to buy it, you buy it.
But you feel it's a product that must come with conditions. With you know, sometimes I wonder, how is it that
Yeah.
my passport that I get because I have a birth certificate to present in the documentation carries the same weight as someone who has forked out 200,000 US dollars and never set foot in the country, has no affinity for the nation and no love for the nation the way I do, no investment in the nation as I do, and
I agree with
has
you.
the same
Um,
benefits.
and I don't mind if they don't step foot in the country. I don't mind. But I don't want people who are poor like me, who are going to come here to Scrunt and open a little shop selling Vienna sausages and sardines and selling a little chicken and chips and displacing a mom and pop. And remember, their children, and when they marry, if they divorce and get married, the new spouse is married to a citizen. They can apply. It is too open ended. It is dangerous. And right now, it would be my guess, because the governments do not publish the data, it would be my guess that we have more economic citizens than natural born or descendant or naturalized citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're only 55,000 natural born descendants and naturalized. It's
And
not
you,
sustainable.
and you may have sold more citizenship packages than that number.
I am pretty confident, not we may have, but we have. And this is why this lawsuit, as I said, can be a blessing in disguise. It can help clean up the whole place. And it needs cleaning up. All of us, including you.
Now, recently the government signed, and we were about wrapping up here, we were out of time. The leaders of the OECS signed an agreement with the European Union, agreeing to some conditions. You did mention a part of it, an aspect of it earlier, that St. Lucia is not signing on. We have an established amount for passports that you must sell at, so the discounted prices and the bargain basement operations, that would cease based on the agreement. Have you looked at the agreement, and are you satisfied that it is a good step forward and has sufficient checks and balances in there that we can, does it give you any confidence for the safety and credibility of the program going forward?
Yes, it's a good step forward, and it's a necessary step, because we really were teetering on the brink, and we may still be teetering on the brink. Um, yeah, it's a good step, a necessary step. We had to. A lot of people don't realize how precariously perched we were, and still are. The average citizen is not aware, and it's a very serious thing.
All right.
So yes, step in the right direction. More work is necessary. More confidence and trust are necessary. Better leadership is required. no foot dragging. We all have to be in this together. Some people have even recommended that the processing of these citizenships be done through an OECS agency. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. The person would have to flesh that out some more for me. But in order to standardize the process and to remove any doubts as to whether John Smith in St. Kitts or Mary Jones in Grenada might be trying a thing or undercutting, you have something, and you subject that to an international inspection program, which we should do with the
Why,
European Union.
why do you not agree? Why do you not agree to a regional body taking charge of due diligence for the region?
Well, I don't know if they'll take charge of due diligence, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I haven't gotten enough information on it to formulate an opinion, a sensible opinion.
All right. Well, we're out of time here. I want to thank you so much, Attorney at Law Dwyer Astaphan, for joining me on the
My
program
pleasure.
to discuss this unfolding story as it relates to citizenship by investment, an issue that can impact us all here in the sub-region. Thanks for being on. We appreciate you, as always.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
This is The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Fario, speaking there with Dwyer Astaphan, attorney at law from St. Kitts and Nevis, discussing the latest developments with the Citizenship by Investment program in St. Kitts and Nevis, MSR, which is involved in the CBI industry of St. Kitts and Nevis, filing a RICO case in the civil court in Florida in the United States, as well as making application for judicial review in St. Kitts and Nevis relating to the undercutting of the price for the sale of passports related to development of a prison project in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we're hearing there that the developer being given 5,500 units, that is the permission to sell 5,500 passports, and that price being cut by half, raising questions, and the National Bank of St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla being implicated in the undercutting, as well as suspect transfer of transactions and transfer of funds in and out of the United States, giving rise to the RICO case that has been brought. Officials of the former government also being named in the action that is being taken by MSR on this matter. The narrative will continue to follow this story. More when we come back.